Pac14 studio production begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Community Foundation Spotlight. I'm Spicer Bell. I'm the president of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and through this series of programs we shine the Community Foundation Spotlight on a variety of organizations that are doing great work in our community. Today we're going to be talking about the Deer's Head Hospital. My guest is Helen Young, is the volunteer coordinator at Deer's Head. Helen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.
Great to have you with us. Deer's Head Hospital's long history here in Salisbury. When was the hospital built? Do you recall?
Well, we've been in business now for 60 years.
60
we just
years.
Celebrated our 60th anniversary last October and had a big celebration.
I should have remembered that because I attended.
Came as a guest, that's
I remember
right.
that now. And I'm sure there are people who live here in the Salisbury area, have maybe lived all their life, and aren't even aware that Deer's Head's here. What is the Deer's Head Hospital? What do you do there?
Well, you're right. Deer's Head sometimes seems to be the best kept secret. And we are a we're a special, unique hospital. We have a chronic hospital, which is a specialty hospital. We get all different kinds of patients that have had brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, multiple issues that they are dealing with. Sometimes we get people who've had strokes, people who've been in car accidents. We do wound care. And we also have 3 wings of nursing home patients too. A lot of times people forget about that because our name is Deer's Head Hospital Center. So in addition to the nursing home units, we also have a dialysis unit. We take inpatients and outpatients. Our census has been running about 78 to 80 patients in dialysis. And we do rehab as well, which would be the physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and respiratory therapy, both inpatients and outpatients.
And it's a state-run facility.
Right. We are a state facility under DHMH, which stands for Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
And right on Johnson Lake, a beautiful site.
Yes, it is.
It kind of a peninsula sticks out into Johnson Lake there, and was with kind of a park-like setting. It's really
It's beautiful.
gorgeous.
And we even have a little dock where some of the patients are able to go fishing. We have some chaplain volunteers that are nice enough to assist them fishing. And right now we have baby geese hatching out this time of year.
Oh my. So, well, now also you have one of your wings is used by Coastal Hospice also.
Correct. We have Coastal Hospice at the lake, and they actually lease a wing. They're a separate organization. They are a nonprofit organization. And so they have their own volunteer program and their own policies and procedures, but they happen to be housed in our facility.
Yeah. You talked about some of the chronic conditions or really rather severe injuries and what have you that you all treat there at Deer's Head. Aren't there a lot of other places that do that?
There probably are some other places, but there's still no facility that does exactly quite like Deer's Head does. And we do tend to take a lot of the difficult patients that other people do not always want to take on. And even when people don't have insurance, where we're a state facility, we get a lot of tough cases. So we have a great reputation for curing wounds pretty quickly, and we just have wonderful reputation for care in our community in general.
Yeah, you have a great staff. I've had the opportunity to visit several times. And,
Thank you.
It's an older facility.
Yes, it is.
Very, very well maintained. Beautiful setting, but probably the most wonderful part of Deer's Head is the staff that you have there.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of great staff, very caring.
Helen, what does the coordinator of volunteer services do?
Well, I help recruit volunteers for the hospital, different means, and I bring them in for a personal interview, and I give a tour of the whole facility, a pretty detailed tour, and I point out volunteer opportunities along the way throughout various departments of the hospital. One of the opportunities might be volunteering in the gift and snack canteen, which is working the cash register, interacting with the patients and the staff and the other volunteers who come to make purchases. We have a volunteer chaplaincy program, which is it's non-denominational, but it is providing spiritual and emotional support for our patients or friendly visit. We have a patient visitor program where students or individuals can come in and visit with the patients and just sit and talk with them or read a book, play a game, things of that nature. And then, of course, different departments might have special needs. We have a clothing room for the patients down in the volunteer office. We have a book cart, all different kinds of opportunities.
Sounds like. Are there any particular volunteer opportunities that you're trying to fill right now?
Right now, well, we can always use more help in our gift and snack canteen, especially now that college students are getting ready to graduate and a lot of them have completed their hours for school. And with summer coming up, high school students, this would be a great time when we have the time to work with them during the day when they can come in. So we can always use more volunteers in the canteen. I could use a volunteer right now in our clothing room just to help neat and tidy the room and hang up clothing donations when they come in. The other thing is Dr. Carol Steffi has just launched a care cart at Deer's Head Hospital Center. And the care cart, she's looking to find some other volunteers to also follow in her footsteps to take the cart around, which contains different items that might be donated to the hospital or items that she regularly stocks the cart with from an endowment fund she set up at Community Foundation. So we can use volunteers there.
That is a wonderful example for folks in the community, really. It's Carol, in memory of her mom, created the Spirit of Esther Fund, which she's going to use to fund charitable works in the community. Did that at the Community Foundation. One of the first projects was one she initiated herself with your help and created this cart that she or others can wheel around and use as an icebreaker in conversations with patients and that sort of thing. What kind of things would one find on the care cart?
Well, she's been really great for going out and getting stuffed animals, kind of really catchy, colorful stuffed animals. One patient actually got a dragon. He had requested one, and she found it and got it for him, and he was thrilled. Another one, we actually ended up being in a newspaper article, and she was able to give a patient a pink poodle that she picked off the care cart. But we've also found people are asking for things like note paper, something as simple as that, greeting cards, plus-size T-shirts, little things like that. And of course, we regularly get donations in from the sewers that are bringing us the terry cloth bibs and the wheelchair bags, the lap robes. We sometimes have anonymous people from the community who bring in Afghans, homemade Afghans that they've made. Sometimes we don't even know who they have come from. So actually, if the viewers could make sure we get their name and address anytime they make a donation so that we can send a thank you and know who they came from. But we stock the care cart with anything, items that are requested that are popular or items that are donated.
The care cart is a great example. Here's someone who wanted to volunteer and really created the project for themselves and is doing great work with it.
Correct. So. Carol is actually a retiree from Deer's Head Hospital Center. And Carol has a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And she volunteers on our foundation as well. And of course, when her mother passed away and left her a sum of money, how the card evolved is she wanted to continue her mother's legacy, and her mother felt very strongly about volunteering in the community, and still as a nursing home patient herself, would volunteer visiting other people who didn't get a lot of visits. And Carol, that kind of was instilled in her. And so she kind of took that idea and ran with it, started the Spirit of Esther Fund. Her mother was named Esther. And the card is actually called the Spirit of Esther cart. We had the maintenance department make a sign. And it's been her idea. And she's had a lot of, like I said, a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and it's contagious. So now we have some college kids that are kind of helping her take charge of that project. Right.
So a lot of opportunities out there in the community for somebody to kind of break the mold and do something new and innovative if they have the interest.
Right. So. And a lot of times new volunteers are a little bit uneasy or skeptical. When you're volunteering in a nursing home or hospital setting, sometimes it can be intimidating. People have different illnesses, and it's an icebreaker. It was Carol's idea. It was really the prop is the cart, and really the visit they're getting and the human contact and interaction is more important than the stuffed animal or the note paper or whatever they're getting off the cart.
Before we started taping, you mentioned another neat icebreaker that comes to Deer's Head. It's an organization we recently featured on one of these shows is Pets on Wheels. You have a dog, I think, is a regular?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we have two animals that come in. And one of them, is the one that comes in most frequently now, is Murphy. He's a Bernese Mountain Dog. And he and his owner, Welton, come in, and they volunteer both at Deer's Head and at Coastal Hospice. And the patients just love it. And it's a very calming effect when you have an animal come in. And Jenny Lawrence also comes in with her dog, River, I believe, is her dog's name. And, when the animals come in, a lot of times people who will not even talk a whole lot, their face lights up and they smile and they become comfortable. And anyway, the Pets on Wheels pet therapy service has been wonderful.
Great. Now you have a volunteer auxiliary group that you work with.
Yes, we do.
How is that structured and what do they do?
Okay. Well, first of all, we have a volunteer auxiliary board of 17, it just happens to be 17 for the last few years, members from the community. Some of them are most of them are retired. And they come in and meet monthly at the volunteer office for the board meetings. and we talk about what kind of fundraisers we're going to have, and they help us plan them. And they vote on where our money's going to be spent, or if there's a big expenditure coming up for a special patient that the social worker presents to us, then they'll vote on if that's something they think we should support or not. And the volunteer auxiliary in general, we have volunteers throughout the whole hospital. You know, we have anywhere between 100 and 150 volunteers at this time. Placed
That
throughout the
was one of the
hospital.
questions I was going to ask is how
Okay.
many. So you've got
Sure.
quite a challenge in coordinating all that.
We have quite a few. We have about 15 to 20 chaplain volunteers right now. I think we have about 12 canteen volunteers. We have an office volunteer that comes in every day. And then we have other volunteers that are placed throughout the hospital. We get a lot of students who need community service for high school. We get students who are in the Wycomico Works program that are trying to get some job skills. A lot of the college professors are requiring volunteer service now, particularly that program down at UMES that just got started, the pharmacy school.
Pharmacy program, yes.
Yes, and they want them to have community service, but not necessarily in a pharmacy setting. So we've gotten some of them. We've gotten a lot of SU students. Apparently we're on their website now, and we get a lot of phone calls, and we get a lot of retired people. So we have a huge variety of different volunteers.
And you use the Shorecan Volunteer Center and website for recruiting volunteers also, don't you?
Yes, we do. And we've actually used it in the past, but now that's with Community Foundation, thankfully it's gotten a lot more exposure, and it's a lot more well-known in the community. Heather's done a great job. You know, we have regular contact. She's referred some people to us. And a lot of times when people will call me, in fact, and they'll want a volunteer opportunity, but they kind of need it right away and they need some quick hours. Sometimes if they're not old enough for our program, or if it's not what we're looking for, then I can in turn refer them back to the Shorecan. You know, if they need a certain assignment on a certain day and there's something they're looking for that we can't offer, that's been great too, to refer people back to her even.
Help them make that connection. Great. Now, the Community Foundation has a fund called the Help Your Neighbor Fund, and I
Right.
know that you've written grants. You
Yes.
do those yourself, don't you, on
Yes.
behalf of the volunteer
Yes.
program. How have you used the Help Your Neighbor Fund?
Well, we found out about them through the Community Foundation, and I got with our social worker basically to get some statistics and then wrote the grant. And how we found out about the needs is the dialysis social worker had approached the Volunteer Auxiliary Board, asking for some funding because the patients, the outpatients, were spending like $10 to $12 a day to come for dialysis treatments. A lot of people don't realize this, but the dialysis patients actually come 3 days a week. Many of them come by shore transit, many of them come by ambulance, you know, some of them come by taxi, some of them are able to drive themselves or have family, and of course then we have the inpatients. But what we found is that people, even after turning off their home phones and just using a cell phone, or turning off their cable and cutting back where they could, you know, they're having to choose between medications and food and housing and getting behind with their mortgages. So they were skipping treatments. They were actually skipping treatments because they didn't have the money to come up. And when we found that out, we were thrilled to find out that Community Foundation offered this grant because we were able to use it for assistance with transportation and medications and even utility bills. That was a big thing, so we've been able to help those patients in all three of those areas.
You know, you had people skipping dialysis treatments in order to pay their electric bill.
That's
or,
right,
or water
life and
bill.
death
Yeah.
issues that these patients were.
Yeah, it's tough.
facing.
It's tough that we sometimes we forget that we have people in our very neighbors, people in
That's
our
right.
community who are having to make those types of decisions. Well, we were glad we were there to help, and
I was
glad
too.
to continue to do that. Now, you've also gotten Make a Big Difference grants from the Community Foundation. That's a component of Shorecan.
Right.
What have you done there?
Well, we've actually gotten 2 years in a row, thankfully, we've gotten grants from the Make a Big Difference grant. And what we've done the first time, we actually were able to use the money to buy some new rose bushes that the volunteer would plant in the rose garden. The goal of that grant was to stimulate, the senior volunteers, have them build meaningful relationships, and have them share their skills and talents with other volunteers to, sort of motivate them to maybe even want to do more. And so we kind of took that and ran with it. So we had some volunteers that were asking for different things and had some projects they wanted to try. We tied that in, so we were able to get rose bushes planted in the Sweetheart Garden. We had a volunteer in the clothing room at the time who needed more room to hang the clothing, so we were able to go out to Sam's and get a clothing organizer. We got some sewing supplies that were needed for the volunteer sewers that they were asking for. And then this most recent time, we're going to get some fixtures for our showcases for the canteen so that the canteen volunteers doing the gifts can display the jewelry a little bit better. And the last couple years, we've been able to use this grant to fund a luncheon that the volunteers travel to Kent Narrows for every year. It is the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene's annual Council of Auxiliary, and of course that's an expensive lunch to go to, where it's held in Kent Narrows. But it's able to help those volunteers, offset the cost because they are giving of their time, and so we're able to pay their way.
It's nice to give them a little a pat on the back and some recognition for all that they're giving. Really.
Sure, and some of them are retired and on a limited income, and sometimes we get people that are disabled and they're on a limited income, and it just really helps them out because they're not there to volunteer to get paid, and they don't expect anything in return. They're just giving of their time and talents and from the heart. But it's nice to be able to give back and do something.
And you have, I think, you have some volunteers that have been volunteering at Deer's Head for a long time.
Yes,
you had
do.
a lady who was just recently recognized by MAC Incorporated.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, just yesterday when I saw you over at the new MAC Center, Beverly Thompson was recognized through Wycomico Division of Aging. Beverly's been with Deer's Head 21 years. She has chaired our birthday party for the past 21 years, and she not only bakes the cake, buys the gifts, she recruits monthly sponsors, which we have a lot of the same sponsors year after year. One sponsor will do every January and one every February and so forth for years, and the sponsors donate $50 to help pay for the gifts, which sometimes we spend more than that, sometimes less, depending on how many patients are having a birthday. And Beverly has been president and vice president over the years of our auxiliary board. She volunteers a shift in the canteen. She does all kinds of countless things I couldn't even tell you. She has more energy than our teenage volunteers.
And she's been doing this for 21 years.
Exactly.
Great staying power.
Yeah, and she's been honored by, she has been nominated for Governor's Award, but she's actually won a Jefferson Award.
Jefferson Award
and
winner.
she was chosen as our Eastern Shore representative last, I think 2 years ago. And Liz Mulvey, another one of our volunteers, she's 93 years old. She's been volunteering almost 50 years at the hospital, and she's our office volunteer. She comes in every day, and sometimes she puts in more hours than I do. And she just celebrated her 93rd birthday,
Right,
so we're glad to have her too.
So that goes to show something we've been saying all along is volunteering will keep you young.
Yes, it will.
It really will. So you're watching Community Foundation Spotlight here on Pac14, and I'm Spicer Bell. I'm the president of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and my guest today is Helen Young, and Helen is the Director of Volunteer Services at Deer's Head Hospital. We're talking about Deer's Head and volunteers and all the great things that you guys do there. You have at least one fundraiser coming up, I believe.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, we have our community yard sale coming up, and that's going to be Saturday, June 11th. And it's going to be rain or shine in our auditorium. We have it every year. The yard sale is open to the public at 7:30 in the morning, and it ends at 1 o'clock. We're actually renting out tables for a $10 donation to the auxiliary. So anyone is welcome to come and shop. Anyone is welcome to come and rent a table. Or if you have an item to donate, and we can send a thank you letter, and you can write that off on your taxes as well. We take donations. We have a jewelry sale coming up, and actually the jewelry sale is going to be on a Thursday in our auditorium, July 21st, from 7 a.m. to 4 o'clock. And that is a huge hit because everything is only $6. Anything from earrings to necklaces to sets of jewelry. Sometimes they bring in things like umbrellas, lunch boxes, scarves, any kind of jewelry or accessory you can think of, and it's only $6, and it's a fundraiser.
Now let's run those dates by our viewers one more time.
Okay.
The yard sale is?
The yard sale is Saturday, June 11th.
Okay.
And it starts at 7:30 in the morning, and we close up shop.
Early yard sale.
Yes.
Those folks want to go around the community, catch all the yard sales. You're going to be open early.
Yeah, open early at 7:30, and we'll close at 1 o'clock. And of course, that's rain or shine in our second floor auditorium. And again, the jewelry sale is on a Thursday, July 21st, starting at 7 in the morning and ending at 4. And anyone from the public is welcome to come.
Great. Now, those are fundraisers. What happens to that money?
Well, the money that we raise, all of that goes to benefit our volunteer auxiliary, which funds projects for the patients. One of the biggest things that we fund is the beauty shop. We have patients and residents who can come down and get their hair done. We have beauticians that come every 3 weeks. We have 2 different beauticians so that everyone's hair care is getting met. We have an African-American beautician that comes in and meets African-American needs. And then we have another beautician that comes out and does Caucasian and other hair. So everyone's needs are getting met. And we spend a lot of money in the beauty shop. And if a patient wants to have their hair done, male or female, whether they want it cut or washed and set or permed, we pick up the tab for that. We don't ask any of our patients to pay out of pocket. And as you know, when your hair is looking good, you feel better. And it's
Absolutely.
a big thing to them, men or women, to be able to get out of the room, be around people. That's one of the things. We also give canteen cards. They're like little Monopoly money worth $2 that you punch off as you go. And our nursing home patients get those once a week. They're worth $2. Some of the other things we do are we furnish like toiletry items if there's something special that the state's not providing. They want something a little bit different type of product, then we'll fund that. We get special requests if there's a patient that needs dentures or eyeglasses or hearing aid and they don't have insurance or insurance is not going to cover all of that. We'll do those kind of things. We put on the monthly birthday party with the gifts. We do a Christmas party every year. And so the money goes to pay for the party as well as the gifts. A number of different things. If a patient just needs some clothing and they don't have the family to go out and get it or the resources, then we have a volunteer shopper, Bev, who will go and do that. So I couldn't even name all the things. We tune the pianos with it. We service the fish tanks. We buy roses for the Sweetheart Garden. We service the sewing machines and buy supplies. It's, you know, the opportunities just are endless.
Yeah, you talked about a $2 canteen card. I mean, that might seem like almost nothing to us sitting here, but in reality, that's a big deal for some of your patients.
It is a big deal to them, and $2 does go a long way in our canteen. Believe it or not, you can still get a Hershey's ice cream, one of them for 35 cents. Where else are you going to find that? In our canteen.
I'm going to start
chips.
stopping by your
Yeah,
canteen.
the chips are like 35 cents or 3 for $1, the Hershey chips. So where else can you find, you know, everything is marked up and we're still making a profit, which I guess shows you, you know, when you go out to convenience stores and other grocery stores and so forth,
Well,
what the markup is.
You have the benefit of those volunteers
That's right.
that keep it running for you.
Yes, we do.
As the Community Foundation has got more involved in promoting volunteerism and sponsoring the Short Can Volunteer Center, it has amazed me over the last couple of years the wonderful stories that we have shared with us on the work that volunteers do.
Sure.
And many nonprofits just would not be able, they wouldn't be able to exist if it were not for the
Right.
volunteer hours. And you know, undoubtedly we're going to have somebody who's watching this show who has a few extra hours in their weekly schedule. And if we can do nothing more than to motivate them to get out there and start volunteering, it's going to be great. Now, and speaking of volunteers, you've worked with volunteers for several years. The volunteers also benefit from the experience, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
What kind of benefits do you see the volunteers deriving from their experience?
Well, first of all, a lot of them are giving of themselves, and many of them will tell you they feel like they're gaining more from volunteering than the patients are. You know, that sense of giving of themselves, sharing their times and talents with someone. Another thing, you know, as a requirement to volunteer, you have to get a TB test. We do that at our facility for free. Flu shots, pneumonia shots, H1N1 shots, those are all things that are not a requirement to volunteer, but a volunteer can get those done for free. That's another little perk of volunteering. And certainly we have a luncheon for them every year, and I know some of you from Community Foundation and Short Can have attended over the years. And we always put on a nice luncheon to kind of give back to them. So they'll come and have a buffet lunch, and we'll treat them to entertainment and door prizes and certificates with their name and the hours they've put in and so forth. But, you know, the friendships that they build, I can't tell you how many of the volunteers that are friends outside of our facility. Many of them started out as ladies that went to church together, and one would start volunteering for years and love it, and they'd tell someone else from the church, and all of a sudden they'd come on. Then they enjoyed it, and they would tell their friend or neighbor. So honestly, some of the best referrals that I get are of fellow volunteers referring their friends and neighbors.
Great. And if someone's interested in volunteering, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can give me a call at Deer's Head. I have a direct line, and it's 410-543-4052. Okay, and I have voicemail.
Okay.
I'm usually in the office Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30, and if I'm not, I have voicemail. And an application can be picked up anytime at our front switchboard or my business card. But generally when volunteers want to see me, rather than taking walk-ins, we usually schedule appointments because I want to spend quality time with each person. And usually I'll spend at least an hour to an hour and a half between doing the interview and taking them for a full tour around the hospital, answering any questions they have, and pointing out the various volunteer opportunities. There's so many things that they have to do.
So they're not going to just be thrown out there on their own. They really, you have developed a support structure for volunteers that helps them be comfortable in their new surroundings.
Certainly. We give them a tour so that they kind of know what to expect. And then I introduce them to various staff along the way, make them feel good about themselves, make sure I call everybody by name, and introduce them to some fellow volunteers that they would be working with, pointing out the different opportunities, and just try to make them feel welcome. And then we have a volunteer handbook, of course. And sometimes we have one volunteer different volunteers that will serve as a mentor, and help. For example, Dave, our volunteer chaplain director, he will take the chaplains around and give them more detailed training on infection control and things that they might need that maybe the average volunteer, maybe who's just sewing or volunteer in the office, doesn't need to know. So we'll make sure they get the training they need depending on what department they're placed in, and they'll get a handbook as well.
Okay. Well, Helen, really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you.
As I've gotten to know, I'm one of those folks who had been in the area for a long time, did not know much about Deer's Head, and as I've had the opportunity to visit and spend some time there, I realize what a wonderful resource it is for our community.
Thank you.
Deer's Head Hospital is something that all of us on the Lower Shore should be proud of and try to support. I appreciate the work you do and your volunteers do.
Thank you. We appreciate the work that you do, as well as the support we get from Community Foundation and the Shore Can.
Great. Well, it's great to have you here with us, and you've been watching Community Foundation Spotlight, and we appreciate you taking the time to visit with us today and allow us into your home. If you'd like to know more about the Deer's Head Hospital, please feel free to contact Helen. If you'd like to know more about the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, you can visit our website at www.cfes.org or give us a call at 410-742-9911. And there's always opportunity for you to participate in improving our community. You can support programs like our Help Your Neighbor Fund, or you can learn through the Shore Can Volunteer Center how you can get out there and volunteer. And thank you for watching Community Foundation Spotlight on Pac14.
Would you like to see your community organization or nonprofit group featured on Pac14? To get started, contact us at 410-677-5014 or visit our website at www.pac14.org. Pac14 is a great way to connect with your community.